This conference will now be recorded.
more
All
to
right,
doing that.
we'll
so.
call a meeting to order. Welcome everyone. Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business before us will be to approve the agenda. Is there any changes, Bruce?
No changes. I would note that during items from the public, I will present a request to compromise a county lien.
Okay.
Move approval. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the agenda. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any conflicts?
Nope.
Okay. We need to approve the regular meeting minutes and the Board of Adjustment minutes from August 13th.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Two-sided.
What's your pleasure on the bills? My questions have been answered.
Good. I move approval.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes. All those in favor.
As soon as I find them, I'll give them to you.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Brenda, personnel.
I have 4 step raises and 1 classification change. The step raises are Lamar Anderson, a full-time permanent correction officer 1, grade 3, base pay of $23.86, effective September 8th. JD Marshall, full-time permanent correction officer 2, grade 2, base rate of $24.84, effective September 22nd. And Bryce Mitchell, full-time permanent correction officer 1, grade 3, base rate of $23.86, effective September 8th. And Megan Schmidt, full-time permanent county employee 3, grade 3, at a base pay of $25.41, effective August 26th.
Okay, can we do all the step raises in one motion?
There was 2 or 3 of them that are evidently running another county, so which is the main county for that.
Lamar Anderson lives in Belfouche. And JD Marshall lives in Belfouche as well.
Motion to approve the step raises, so forth.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the step raises. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Move to approve Brett McNeil as the classification change.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion and a second for approval of the classification change. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and then also I have a request from Greg Diaz from the IT department requesting a waiver for Colton Roselle for in Article 4, Section 4.2, our policy puts a stipulation that you have to be here for 90 days to use your sick leave. We're asking a request for a waiver for that, and then also to allow the employees to donate sick leave to Colton as well, per the personnel manual.
Pursuant to your management prerogative.
And also Greg is here if you have any questions.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
Have they had quite a few people that volunteer?
Well, we can't send out email until you guys approve it,
I
so.
don't know who
Yeah.
volunteers.
Yeah. So
I don't know that there's ever been a lack of interest, though.
donations,
Does it have
yes.
to be kind of a double motion or something?
That can all be as one.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve the sick leave
And the donation.
and the donation. Yeah, I was trying to think of the right word.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much for that.
That it? Travel request?
Yes, I have a travel request for,
The treasurer's request for personnel.
I did it already.
How did I miss that? I think you made the motion, didn't you? I probably did.
No, Rick made,
I'm right here, wait.
Rick made the
Apparently
motion
not.
for
Good,
the
very
step,
efficient.
for the step raises, yes. There
So
was,
efficient, I don't even remember.
you made the step raise for the classification
I
change.
did the classification.
Yes. You're not losing it.
Good work.
All right. Travel request for, emergency management for Paul Thompson, Barb Baker, JD Geigo, and Ken Hawkeye to attend the 2024 SDEMA conference in Oklahoma from September 9th through September 12th.
Is part of this paid by the state?
No,
No. It's unbelievable.
All they do anymore is the salary.
Salaries.
And Mr. Geigel and Mr. Hawkeye donate their time, isn't that correct, Paul?
Yes,
So,
and this is
We're fortunate to
one of
have.
the training sessions that the state will provide the classes, and the association helps pay for some of the speakers. And they have a class for emergency management that the state pays for, so we go one day early for that, and have our class, then go into the conference. It's every year.
Motion approved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
thank you. That's all I have for travel requests.
All right, the annual LEMPG agreement. I thought we dealt with that last week.
I think that was a quarterly report, but you have the annual agreement this time.
Okay.
The master agreement. I think it's the same as it has been in the past, except that the state has reduced or eliminated one of the training requirements.
Yeah, they, like this year, we're going to get our one class that's required by the state. And this next year's agreement, which starts October 1st, they've dropped that requirement. So some of us have taken every class 3 times just because they require it. So we finally discussed it with them, and they dropped that requirement. So that's a good thing.
Motion to approve the LAMPG agreement.
Allow the chairman to sign.
Allow it to sign, yes. God, Mom.
So second.
Okay, a motion and a second for approval for the chairman's signature. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Oh, will you make a copy for us?
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay, abatements.
Sign that, Paul?
Mike is here from on behalf of equalization, and Deb is here on behalf of the treasurer's office.
Maybe.
I'll make this quick. The appraisal software calculated the final assessed value of this parcel incorrectly. We have fixed it, so going forward, it'll be fine. It's gonna reduce the 2024 assessed value by $6,950, and that will reduce the taxable value by $7,026.
Okay, for the record, what's the name?
It's Nancy Nealon, Nelin.
Okay.
And I can give you the parcel number, but you probably have it.
Looks like it's been approved by the city of Weed as well.
Correct, yep.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Further discussion?
Was this the only parcel that the software figured on, or?
Yes, yep, and it's because it's a rare instance where they had a disabled veterans exemption and another exemption as well, so it was doing them in the wrong order. But we fixed it going forward, so.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have another one too, though.
Yep, Deb is here for that one, please.
I'm not as fast as Mike.
Is yours gonna take time?
A few minutes,
Okay.
but probably not as very
All
long.
right, you have the floor.
Oh, thanks. We have a mobile home, 72 mobile home that was up Nevada Gulch. They moved it to the dump. It's gone. And they paid the advance tax and everything. They brought in proof that it went to the dump. So they get a 6 months refund. The total value that needs to be refunded is $7,905. So that comes out to $94.34 they get refunded on. And we have proof that it went to the dump.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks.
Thanks, Deb.
It's pretty quick.
Automatic budget supplementary.
Okay, we had some hail damage on, and a deer and hail on the 24 Dodge Durango and 21 Dodge Durango. This is just the money to repair those, so to automatically supplement it back into the sheriff's travel budget to pay for the expenses.
Okay,
Amount is $7,786.75.
what's your pleasure?
I'll move to approve the budget transfer.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the budget transfer. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we're down to the request to declare surplus 2 snowmobiles, it looks like.
Search and rescue.
Yeah, those are the search and rescue, the old ones. We're surplusing 2 of those to kind of help offset with the new purchases.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we're down to the sheriff's department. Mr. Johnson, would you like to come forward and bless us with your knowledge, sir?
Well, I don't know about that. Sheriff Dean did ask me to brief the board or talk about opportunity that we have with partnering with Job Corps. They have several different disciplines, I guess, that they teach down there, and one of them is culinary. So as part of their program, they send them out into the workforce and work under someone as part of, before they graduate. They can work up to 12 weeks in a spot. Bruce probably has a couple more details on it, but the Department of Labor pays their wage. We don't pay anything. They also pay, I think, their workman's comp. They pretty much is their employee, but they work here learning this trade. So hopefully we'd be able to teach these young men and women how to do nutrition, because Deb has to pay attention to all that. They would have to know portion size.
In layman's terms, it's free kitchen help?
It is. And it's a good deal for them too, because
Sure.
then they get that knowledge on how to budget for this, how, everybody does very well on price per inmate. So this would just help these young people help graduate and get some pretty good information on moving forward for their careers. So they also have other things. They have building, they have painters, they have other things that maybe someday we could use or help them.
Okay, it looks like we'll need to have a motion for this.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, so recently Brenda recalled actually, the last time there was an intern or extern or whatever they are, was back in, I think, 2019, planning and zoning had a high school student up there. And there was requirements to make sure that they were covered under the school's liability policies and so forth. And so we thought it'd be best practice to run this by you guys as well, so that you knew that that person was going to be here and that the considerations had been given for work comp and wages and those kinds of things. Pat did a lot of research on that as well. And so we're trying to set that up for in the future, if we have any more of these, and there likely could be, that you would want them to be presented here. Unfortunately, in this young man's case, I think he's going to be graduating here very shortly. So we lost like a week and a half by having the delay, but we thought it would be best practice.
Okay, Commissioner Platt.
It seems to me if we're not paying for it and it's under the sheriff's department, we would be simply not objecting to him pursuing this. Is that how we would handle this?
I think that's fair. He's not an employee, and just so you're kind of aware. And I think his name is Colton Sava. Is that just so that's in the minutes, and he's not an employee, and he's going to be in the sheriff's office under that program, under their direction.
And he will only be in the kitchen. He won't be interacting with inmates, that type of thing.
And do we need to approve
I'll
them to
make the
sign?
motion to. What's that? However I don't know.
I just said to approve the work experience program participant and authorize Pat Johnson, Chief Deputy, to sign the necessary documents and the condition that a copy of the agreement is on file.
There's an agreement that needs to be filed.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
What a great deal.
Thank you, Pat.
So every time we have a new person, would we bring it to the board with a new agreement, or is it just this program would be approved? How do you want to?
It can cause a delay in them getting started. Sometimes we probably will know more in advance too, and have more of a lead up.
Once we get this program going, I think we'll know who wants to come up here and have an idea.
Can we say to approve the work experience program participants.
Is that what you'd rather have?
And then that way, then he doesn't have to come back every time they sign it.
Okay.
I'll just add an S.
Very good.
Yeah.
But a report on that, on how many you have and things, I think would be ideal because it's a great program and good opportunity for them and terrific thing for us. We might have future employees out of it, so.
Exactly.
I think just,
Okay.
and up at the new building site, I think the tower was being put up yesterday. I
Yep.
think I saw some video of that.
The crane showed up yesterday and they started putting up, I think they're 20-foot sections, so it didn't take them very long.
Oh, it's up, huh?
Yeah, by the time I got there, they're already bolting the ladder to it.
Awesome.
They do, there's a little delay in some of the antennas getting here, but they figure it'll only push the whole project back till about mid-September, which is in a couple weeks.
So
So
my understanding is the paving is complete now too?
I didn't go on that side of the building yesterday, I guess, but I know they were setting up for it last week and
It's,
2 weeks ago.
they put at least part of a lift in last week, I think.
Yeah, we've got an individual that works up there and I kind of get a little report once in a while.
It's progress, it's good.
And no issues you need to visit with us about on the project at all?
Well, I don't think so.
Okay,
You're going ahead and making some purchases for soft costs and things and getting ready, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so you're gonna see some more bills probably
Yep.
coming in soon as you're getting closer to the finish line.
okay, well, the sheriff isn't here. He met with several of us last week and we did tour the old facility for ideas on how to utilize that space once everyone's moved and that went well. We kind of got it figured out where we can make an area over there to house, I guess, an individual that may be on trial during periods when they're shut down during their trial, so had brief discussion on who might utilize it in the future. And the one thing that did come up that I think we may have to spend some money on professionally would be to have the entire building professionally cleaned once they're moved out due to the issues that we had with stuff coming down from above. But otherwise, I think we've got a little bit of time to utilize the area for to house the individual that could possibly be on trial. Doesn't sound like that's gonna be very expensive. I think we can do the majority of that in-house, so that's not gonna be a huge expense to us.
So I think Tim was going to get a quote from a cleaning company to see what it would be. And in terms of the inmate, it's not necessarily housed. I think it would be if there was a trial and they would bring the inmate over either before the trial starts that day or during the lunch hour or afterwards. So they wouldn't actually, no one will be sleeping there as an inmate. It's just kind of like during the off times, right? And
Just needed a restroom and a spot.
but we'll be reporting more, I think, as Tim gets that quote. And I've been trying to show some people around and generate some interest and get my commission.
All right, did you have anything further for us, sir?
Nothing further.
All right, well, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Bay. Oh, wait a minute. Well, yeah, you can sit down and then we'll have to pause at 8:25. We've got a public hearing, which won't take too long, but come on up, sir. We can kind of get you started and then I'll cut you down.
Okay. To start with, there's a continuation of the utility permits by Celerity. Or excuse me, I got the first one here is Bear Butte Valley Water. Sorry about that. Bear Butte Valley Water is requesting to put a water line across the Bighorn Road. This is a residence that we issued a permit for the electricity a couple of meetings ago, and now this will be for the water line. We do require that the water line, any permit applied for is applied for by the owner of the water system and not the owner of the land. So anyway, Bear Butte Valley Water is wanting to bore. The water line conditions will be that the bore pits will be outside the right of way and the water line will be contained within a casing. So they've agreed to all of that, and I would recommend approval of their permit.
Motion to follow recommendation.
Where does the water come from?
Bear Butte Valley Water.
Second that for further discussion.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Their water system is based out of Sturgis. I think they have water tanks there just on Highway 79, I believe, north of Sturgis. So
There's more and more concern about water around, so that's why I brought it up.
they've, I think it's been about 4 or 5 years ago, they moved into this area and they drilled some wells out east of Sturgis, and they've been providing a lot of water for the Sturgis area, but they have moved into Lawrence County.
I believe it's the Rowett family that kind of spearheaded that.
We've got some permits with them in the past.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And now we have the permit for celerity. Again, I have 3 separate permits for 3 separate roads. We can do this all at one if you would like, or we can do them individually. Celerity is wanting to continue their project west of Spearfish with communications. These are for the Datum Creek Road, Crow Peak Bench Road, and the Moeller Road. I did have them again supply or offer their proposed costs if we would like to levy some sort of a bond. We didn't on the last set, so.
Motion to approve the permits without a bond.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the permits without a bond. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And as far as
Couple minutes.
approach permit, Jesse Horstman is asking permission to construct a private approach on the north side of the Jackson Road. This will serve as an agriculture field approach. There was already kind of an approach there, but it didn't suit his purpose for getting in and out of the field. There was a gate in the fence basically, and they just drove down through the ditch. Well, they filled in the ditch and made an approach that was better suited for getting in and out. Well, that created a problem and it flooded. We had some rain and they didn't put a culvert in. I made them we ripped it out because we had to get the water back into the ditch. So I did make them apply for a permit and start from scratch, and that's what they've done. Site distance is good, everything's good, but it will require a culvert. All of the conditions will include it being perpendicular to the Jackson Road, the size of the pipe, and end sections on the pipe. So, now that we've removed what he had there, I guess it would be a benefit to everybody that there was a decent approach there as opposed to what was there to begin with. So I would recommend approval of it.
This individual just went in and done it without even.
Like I said, they had there's been a gate there historically. This is the only approach into this 160 acre field, and they were driving it out. He was trying to get some trucks in there, so they just pushed some dirt in so they could get in. Well, it was temporary, is how he described it to us. Well, it rained in there, and it doesn't take much rain to fill a ditch, and it did, and so.
Well, this, anything way we can recover our expense, because this gentleman seems to do this, not just with approaches, but other things within his business, and cuts corners and asks us to be forgiven quite frequently. Can we recover any expense, or do we have the ability to do that?
I can't think of any statutory authority, which is not to say that there isn't any. Perhaps we should ask him and just see what he says and go from there. Is that fair?
I have not put a dollar value to what we did. I can easily do that. if you would like to continue this to the next meeting next week, I could do that and
Let's
put
do
a
that.
dollar value with it.
Thank you.
I think that would be perfect.
I'll move to continue this.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second to continue to the next meeting. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So,
These are the other ones, he still has them. These are the
Oh.
slurry. There's 2 more.
all right, let's do our public hearing here real quick. This is the time and place for a public hearing for resolution 2024-31, supplemental budget, general fund dispatch capital assets. Brenda, you want to brief us on this,
Yes.
please?
So this supplement is requesting the funds for the radio tower. We authorized back when we started this project that we would not take this out of the Public Safety and Services Center because it wasn't part of that project, and supplement the dispatch budget to pay for that expense. And this is the bid amount of $187,328.54 for this radio tower.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so we will open it up to the public for any comment for or against. And if you choose to speak to this, I would ask that you would please stand, state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone in the body of the audience that would like to comment on this? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and offer to the board.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
All right.
I got copies.
I see we've also got a public hearing contained within yours, John, for, let's take care of that one next, if that'd be all right with you.
It's at 8:30.
All right, we'll wait a couple minutes. Carry on, sir.
We can skip over. Matt Miners recently turned in his resignation, which I have. I don't know if you would want the copy of that.
Get a copy.
Oh. We hired him from, came from Wharf to work for us. He's been here just short of 4 years, and he's decided to go back to Wharf, just for financial reasons. So losing him, we are currently advertising. We've had a good response to our advertisement for applications. I think we've got right at 9 right now. So
Nice.
we're gonna, sometime next week, we're gonna start doing some interviews to replace Matt. So, and we wish him all the luck in the world. And our bridge updates I got here, the bridge at the Whitewood Service Road, still continuing with the false work. I was down there the other day on Friday. I went down there. They were still constructing the false work, getting ready to pour. I was told by the state that they plan on doing their continuous pour sometime after the holidays. So I'm not sure which holiday.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, which holiday?
I hope the upcoming holiday, but we'll see.
On a pour like that, you certainly couldn't do that.
It's a continuous pour. Once it starts, it can't stop no matter what.
No, but the weather has to be agreeable as far as being.
It does.
too cold.
I'm sure they'll do their best to meet the weather requirement, but when we did the continuous pour on the St. Ange, there was some weather came in during that and that they can't stop. If they stop, they have to start over. They have to rip everything out and start over. So it's
But I mean,
pretty.
you certainly couldn't do it during our cold weather, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, they can. They can.
Blanket it and put.
Well, they do, and then the continuous pour, the process is, the machine that they put the concrete in, the machine, it's an automated screed. It vibrates, it covers it as soon as it's done with a fabric, and it's kept wet for 2 weeks.
But this will have air coming underneath as well.
Yeah, well, they're planning on that, so I once it starts, they can't stop. It should, they can do that fairly quickly. Even a bridge of this size, they can do that fairly quickly. So I'm hoping that they do get that going, because I think our real problems will be get up against the seasonal limitation for pavement to the bridge.
Yeah.
That'll be the real holdup.
Okay, it's 8:30. Time and place for another public hearing. Resolution 2024-30, a resolution removing Mount Roosevelt Road from the county primary system.
The resolution, Mr. Chairman, would also then declare it to be a secondary road if you approve it. These are the requirements that the state imposes. I don't know that they're necessarily state law, but the state requires this in order for the resolution to be presented for approval at the DOT.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Again, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the body of the audience that would like to speak for or against this, this is the time and place. I would ask that you please stand and state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone in the body of the audience that would like to speak to this?
I'm Ken Halsey from Spearfish. I had lived here in Deadwood at one time for about a 3-year period of time.
What's your address, sir?
Sir?
Your address, sir.
232 and a half Evans Lane,
Thank you.
Spearfish, South Dakota.
Thank you.
This is my daughter Bonnie. And I had the opportunity to know a couple of young men that were students at Deadwood High School when I was high school principal. And their father had helped them, I'm sure, acquire a 20-acre plot of ground that encompasses the corner of the Mount Roosevelt Road. I somehow was made aware of a 3+ acre corner of that piece of property that had been orphaned by the road that went through it. And I approached the boys about the possibility of acquiring that from them. No improvements had been made on any of that property at that time. They were interested in knowing about it, setting a price, and I had always thought the Black Hills were beautiful. Being a native South Dakota from the East River area, the Black Hills still looks awfully good to me. And they agreed, and I bought the property in 1968 and have paid taxes on it ever since that time. I always intended to do some building on that property someday. And about 17 years ago, I looked in the mirror and someday was here, and I started improvement on the property to make a cabin site. I acquired the services of Peterson Excavation. Snooks Peterson is the nickname of the gentleman that I've known for a long time that is very capable in that regard. We discovered in the process of trying to make a cabin area that it was pretty much all rock up there. It required a little bit better than 80 blast holes to be sunk and the explosives placed to make an area. We were able to do that because Mr. Peterson knew of the efforts that were going on over at the Deadwood Lodge area, which was being built at that time. In the process of doing so, then we were able to make a cabin area and then make a road or a driveway down to the Mount Roosevelt Road, just for a very slight but quick fun incident in removing himself from the cabin area. It appeared to me like he was kind of going up instead of down, and I waved him down and I asked Mr. Peterson, what happens if we don't get down to the road level before you run off of my property and onto Forest Service or BLM, I think it's Forest Service property, and you'd have to remember Snooks, but he got kind of close to me and he said, I won't tell if you don't. Well, we were able to avoid that and exited the property. What I am asking for is just your awareness that at the time I bought that property, the road was in much better shape than it is now in the area where I have to travel. From the end of Denver Street, the first mile is gravelled and very, very appropriate. I have no complaint that I can think of at all there. Then it comes to a switchback, which is about a half mile from the entrance to my property. And that is, the half mile is bad to very bad. It's to the point where almost any vehicle that you would take up there is in danger of harm to the undercarriage and or to the riders themselves. I have no well up there. I have a 3,000 gallon cistern that I have to haul water to, and that becomes difficult to haul water to on a road that is that rugged, so to speak. And what I would like to acquire would be some kind of a concession or leadership on the part of this organization to extend the Mount Roosevelt Road travelability to at least to my cabin area, and quite frankly, because traffic comes down from the lodge area the other way, it would be nice if it joined all the way. Now, I realize that that increases the amount of traffic that will occur, but traffic does continue to occur. I spoke one time, I believe, to Mr. Bay, and he mentioned to it the bad road probably protects your property, but it failed in that regard within the last 2 months, and I had to break in, but because I wasn't there to protect it, it required quite a bit of repair. Didn't spoil the cabin or anything of that nature, but I've had update on the physical property, the cabin itself, roughing and siding and things of that nature. And that requires others to travel on a very bad road. So I'm saying I've owned property in that location since 1968. And it is in the worst shape road-wise that it has ever been. I open it up for any questions you might ask.
Would you like to comment on
Well, I would,
Seminary Road entails, John?
I would agree with everything he said. The road is in very bad condition. For 1.281 miles, it's poor to no gravel, very rough. It's a trail system at best on BLM property. It does access several private properties, 14 lots, 5 cabin sites along the Mount Roosevelt Spike Lane and Tatro Rock Road. But most of the property is BLM and then, of course, United States Forest Service property. The Forest Service issued the city of Deadwood, and I have their agreement along if anybody wants to see that. The city of Deadwood has provided that for us, and that is the easement to allow the city to take that road over. It just kind of augments my complaint the whole time that if this is a Forest Service road for them to hand out easements, why is it even a county road? I still dispute that this is even a county road, let alone a county primary road. The fact that it's described as a primary road is causing the problems that he's speaking to. People just drive up and down it thinking that it is a primary road, that it's should have a level of service as a primary road, and it does not. And it hasn't. The county, as long as I've been at the county, which is 37 years, we have never done winter maintenance. We have done very little maintenance, if any, on only certain portions of that road, mostly to the monument. We've done some grading to that before. We've done some gravel work on that on the Forest Service side for the Forest Service. We've never really done much else to that road, and that's why it's at the condition it is. I have kind of put together some rough estimates. I have not done a complete analysis of that road, of what it would take, but I went up there yesterday morning. The 1.281 miles of the road that he's referring to it would require a lot of work. The dollar amount, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it would be, just for materials, I came up with roughly $144,000 in materials, okay, for 1.2 miles of road. it would need probably 12 inches of gravel. You know, there's 12 inches of rock sticking up. You would have to agree. Anyway, the point of this resolution is really not to cover the maintenance level at this time. It is to get it at least to the secondary system and to remove the 0.99 miles that the city has an easement with the Forest Service. We need to get that off of our system at the state level. And then I feel that we need to get the remainder of this road to the secondary system to just kind of at least have that coverage to where that road is not advertised as a primary road, to hopefully alleviate some of the travel problems.
John, is it true that if you were to sort of Google roads to Mount Roosevelt, it would show that road as a traveled road on your phone?
That's
Makes
correct.
sense? And so you're trying to make people aware that it's not that, right?
It's not a traveled road, and it's not an adequate road for travel, nor is it maintained in the winter. Nobody plows this road. If it's plowed by private people. I don't know. We don't plow it. The city doesn't plow it. They only take care of the 0.99 miles, which is behind the lodge, the paved portion. That is the only portion of Mount Roosevelt that is maintained in the winter. So I think this is just our start. Now, this resolution doesn't address maintenance issues on that road. That would be a discussion for another time, whether we have a few options to either, well, first of all, we'd have the option to improve the road. It would be very costly. The second option would be to do some signing or come forward with another resolution, which would make it a no maintenance road. And that would kind of take the county out of the equation as far as it still could be on the secondary system, but as a no maintenance or minimum maintenance road. I would rather it be a no maintenance road. Or, there's the South Dakota State Statute 311227.1, and that allows private individuals to cooperate with the county for improvement on a county road at their expense. We've used that in the past. If you remember, on the Fogelsong Road, we contracted with a landowner to improve a section of road at his expense. He benefited from it, so he paid for it. So those would be kind of some of our options. But again, this resolution has nothing to do with that at this time. This resolution just cleans up the fact that there's 0.9 of a mile that's not ours, and the other 4.24 miles should be changed to at least a county secondary road.
Okay. Well, we'll finish our public hearing. Is there anyone else in the body of the audience who would like to speak for or against this at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and offer to the board.
Mr. Chairman, we've talked about this road for a while. I guess I'm supporting taking off the primary system just from the simple fact to get it off of the Google Maps and so people aren't accidentally driving on that. I appreciate Mr. Halsey's comments there about the condition of the road, and it's something we'll continue to look at as we do with all the roads in the county. But I would offer a motion to delete this Mount Roosevelt Road from the primary system and designate it as a secondary road.
I'll second that for
Okay,
discussion.
motion in a second, further discussion. Mr. Sleep.
I'm not so sure we shouldn't go take a look at it too. Whoever wants to.
During the discussion period, or can I ask this question about the Forest Service afterwards?
You may.
Go back to the Forest Service. I mean, is it a Forest Service road?
My opinion is it's a Forest Service road to the monument and to the Forest Service campgrounds. The state says it's not. The state says it's a county road. They haven't satisfied me with producing the resolution that says it's a county road, but they say they have one. I have never seen it nor been provided that.
Okay.
I have been provided by the city of Deadwood the documents from the Forest Service giving them an easement on the 0.99 of a mile of road. Then the other portion of the road, and the other half of it is on Bureau Land Management.
And explain that to me. I mean, I don't know what BLM is, but are they in the same basis as the Forest Service, the way they work with us on roads, or?
Bureau Land Management probably works with us less than the Forest Service.
That makes it worse.
We don't have any BLM controlled access in the county.
Okay.
The exclusion area, they call in holdings, the stuff around the cities is BLM and Forest Service, but it'd be a Forest Service road. It's a strange mix of governmental bodies,
And keep it in mind too, the Forest Service isn't in the road business. They don't do road repairs. They do very minimal road construction. Their roads are merely to access the forest and to access monuments and parks and campgrounds and things like that. Their level of maintenance on roads is very, very minimal.
I was gonna say, I think the rules that the BLM would follow would be the same as the Forest Service.
Okay.
I think they're governed by the same federal rules. But
the ones under Department of Interior, they're easier to deal with if you have a land issue, or I've my experience with that.
Further discussion?
Would it be possible for me to speak yet?
Not right now, we've got a motion before us, so.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's important to remember that this doesn't affect the maintenance on the road. It just affects how it's designated.
Yeah.
Because we can still fully maintain a secondary road, even though it's not a primary.
Correct. Which is a discussion for down the road.
Yeah.
All right, at this time, we have a motion before us to remove it from the primary system and add it to our secondary system. All of those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Ma'am, would you
Oh,
like to make a comment?
yeah, I'm Bonnie Halsey, 6100 Orion Street in Spearfish. And I guess I just would, as we move forward in future discussions, consider the fire danger and the accessibility to that area of the mountain. I personally feel it's important to maintain that road to at least some degree.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Bruce?
John, will you send the resolution to the state? And I think they need proof of advertising as well.
That's right. And we have everything in order for that.
I'll make a copy for you.
This is the latest version of the resolution here. I don't know if you have it.
Yep.
Okay.
Did you have anything else for us, sir?
No, but I would make a comment about this. The next meeting, which is next week, we'll be presenting our 5-year plan. That would be maybe a more appropriate time to talk about levels of maintenance and things like that for this road.
Yeah.
I can say that this road has never been included in a 5-year plan. It's never been included in any kind of budgeting or anything like that. It's not currently, I did not budget for this for 25. Mount Roosevelt is one of them roads. It's there, but it's really never been on the forefront of the highway department's mind as far as improvement or trying to budget for improvement. So, but the next meeting in 1 week would be when we present the 5-year plan, and that might be the more appropriate time to talk about it.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna take a 10-minute break. We've got a public hearing at 9. And we'll. I've been watching that squirrel up and down.
I didn't know what he was doing. I
Out of the corner of my eye.
iPhone's down, just,
Squirrel out there gets my eye.
he must have made 30 trips already.
I just caught out of the corner of my eye, I saw something go down. It didn't drop fast enough to fall.
No, it's been right in my field.
John?
Meeting's next week.
Yeah, it's
There's a special commission meeting?
Yeah.
You're on the first mission.
Well, Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. Well, it's right there, yeah, okay. No, I've got it as the 10th, okay.
Then we have the weeks off like we did the last week, so instead of second and fourth.
I've since resolved.
What if your eyes have changed? Because
Yeah.
We do our 5-year plan too, so,
No, I
I
want to
don't know
be
if you need, you
there.
guys,
I'm ready for that 5-year plan to be done, so I'll be there.
Yeah, I used to hang around a lot.
did anybody have any, I sent you,
Oh,
you'll
yes.
get
Caller one, I don't know if you can hear me, but your mic is not muted, just so you're aware. We can hear you in the background. Thank you.
We're good. Your life?
It's about 5 minutes, yeah.
If you want, I can maybe, want me to handle the request to compromise the lien?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, we'll come back to order. Well, wait a minute, Commissioner Jennings is here.
Mrs. Crowley there. Mrs. Crowley, she was there, I wondered if she was gonna comment. See that? Moved the minute
She was interested in that topic for sure. I don't know which one. The one we just got done with.
Let's hear.
Okay. All here now, we'll come back to order.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, for your consideration, I provided some information given to us yesterday by an individual I'll refer to by his initials, DH. And in his letter, he requests that you compromise a court-appointed attorney fee bill. So the amount approved by the court, Judge Callahan, was $1,373.43. He has it rounded off in his letter, and he would ask that you would compromise that down to $321, which he feels is a fair price. He was in on Friday and again yesterday, and I explained to him that he could make the request, but such requests were granted very infrequently. It was also discussed with him that through the auditor's office, he's allowed to make payments, and as long as he's not more than 90 days in arrears, that he doesn't get sent to collections, and there's interest charged on any of that as well. And again, I would point out, I referenced the fact that Judge Callahan did review the itemized billing by the lawyer. I do have that itemized billing and approved it in that amount.
This individual's not in the room, correct?
No.
Okay.
I'll move we deny the request and go along with the judge's request.
Okay. I'll second it. Further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion for denial will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank
All
you.
right. We're not ready for Amber.
Can I read it for a second while we transition?
You can.
Thank you.
All right, you're good to go. It's back
All right,
on.
we'll call a meeting back to order. It is 9 a.m. It's the time and place for a public hearing. Conditional use permit, 491, chapter of the Calvary Cathedral.
Yep.
Ever, you want to
Yeah.
brief us on that?
Yeah, this is for Mad Mountain Adventures. And this one is, we had done a temporary use permit on this one last winter, kind of right before the winter hit, to get them in there and see how it would work. It went well, and so they would like to continue it through a conditional use permit to have their rentals out there for the snowmobiles. It's a good use. It works between the church and they have private agreements. We have copies of all of those agreements on file just in case we would need to get a hold of anybody. And they basically would just like to take their temporary use permit, get rid of that, and create the CUP, but they're not really operating it any differently than they have been.
Okay. This is a public hearing. We're going to open it up to the public for any comments for or against. If you choose to speak at this time, I would ask that you would please stand, state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against this? No one?
You got plenty, a few people online.
Is there anyone online that would like to speak to this?
Go ahead,
Yep.
Bishop.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for taking this on, and I just want to reiterate everything that you all already know. It worked splendidly last year, and we count ourselves fortunate and blessed that they're interested in using the property. Selfishly speaking, I've never been on a snowmobile in my life, and I'm looking forward to trying it for the first time. So they're great neighbors, great folks to have, and thank you all again for taking this under consideration. We couldn't be happier with this arrangement.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the body of the audience would like to speak for or against this? Seeing none, none online, we'll close the public hearing and offer to the board for their consideration.
I'll move we approve the rental agreement.
Well, make it a full-time
Conditional use permit.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to change it from a temporary to a conditional use permit. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Did I say something wrong, Brenda? I got to look.
Nope, not like so.
You're good. Do something about the snow conditions, that would be appreciated.
We need more snow.
Yes, we need more snow.
More snow.
That's a separate permit. The only one here that might have any influence would be the gentleman
Yep.
from the church online.
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong people here.
You got the bishop over there.
Bishop will, yeah, we'll have to start doing some talking.
If I'm understanding you all correctly, I think the question was, can the bishop arrange for more snow? And unfortunately, no. I'm in sales. I'm not in management.
Very well.
All right, thank you. If you want to skip ahead, since we have to wait for public hearings, Wharf
is here, we can do theirs. It's just,
Thank you.
it's just a summary. Thank you, guys.
All right.
That's
That
not
one
a
we
public
should-
hearing, so.
We should do that one then.
It's just a question of the building permit.
So
Start or no?
Um,
Right underneath here.
Oh,
Right there.
okay. We're gonna, we've got some time before the next public hearing, so we're gonna go down to the building permit issuance, work resources.
And I'll give a quick summary if you want, and then we can go from there. So the last meeting, you guys approved the technical revision for the False Bottom Springs project. And as part of that, after that meeting, they came in with their building permit, and we noticed that there was a load line that the building actually goes on both sides of, which we have quite a few buildings up at Wharf, that older buildings that do that. So it's all within the boundary of the CUP. But obviously, we have not made Wharf do a boundary plat like we did Homestake when Homestake started selling stuff. So we had that discussion with Wharf, and they know, they will probably have to do that at some point, but can we issue a building permit as is, showing the site plan, it's within the CUP boundary? That's kind of where it's at.
I don't see a difference between this and building, anybody else building on two lots. We make them either get a variance or plat. I don't understand. I can't in my head find a difference in this.
But that was the question. I
Yeah.
think that's what we're trying to figure out.
So it'd either be variance for special exception because the property's so big, or, but again, why can't they slide it over a little ways?
Do you want to
But then they still have setbacks from the property line.
Yeah, these are good questions. Just talking a little bit about when we looked at it, we've had a design firm or an engineering firm come in and place the building and the pumps, and there's quite a bit of infrastructure that are, it's just designed.
This is a treatment facility,
It
isn't
is.
it? Then,
That's
yeah, then you
right.
don't just move the building, it needs to go where it goes.
It would be ideal if we could.
I forgot that that's what this was
Yeah,
about.
That's okay. The other thing to note, I think, talking to Amber, I was just trying to understand how the load lines affect your decision making and things like that. And she kind of explained that, in the future, if you sell one or the other, it becomes an issue. This facility is designed for 15-year use, and it is under a reclamation plan that will require the building to be demolished at the end of its useful life. And so there will be no building by the time by the time that the treatment is over. We will take down the building and the infrastructure around it. So
Do we need a variance?
Well, so the question that I had, due to the circumstances of it will have to be removed, it's part of the reclamation plan, all of that stuff. Does it warrant them platting just two loads into one lot, which will change their legal description for their CUP and all of that stuff? Or can we just give permission with a caveat that it will have to be removed according to the reclamation plan as part of the building permit process? It's just we don't usually run into this. It's just a weird thing because the CUP boundary is individual mineral survey loads. So then if we plat in the middle of it, that's gonna update the legal description on the CUP boundary, and I don't know.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
But we can attach the reclamation plan onto
Well,
the building.
and that's the thing, is this is a little
Tied
different
together.
because they do have a reclamation plan that is gonna require them to remove the building anyways.
that's right.
Before anything can be sold.
So today you're
I mean,
asking for approval
if
to
I just
issue a building permit.
issue a building permit in the location that they provided here, which
Commissioner
is.
Platt.
Bruce, do you see a way that this isn't precedence or isn't? It just, I can see because there's supposed to be a limited life on it to some degree, but I'm just trying to get in my head, wrap around how to do that in a.
I'm kind of trying to hang my hat on the idea that this is sort of a semi-permanent building and more, immediately permanent, but it'll be taken away later on, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I can offer. The other thing I was trying to think through is is to have them, allow them to go forward, but don't issue, it's not an occupancy permit per se, but before they would go live, that they would have to have a variance or have it replatted or whatever, have that done so that they could go forward. You know, and then you would consider that sort of more the housekeeping matter later on. I don't know that that's a good option either. That sort of almost binds you to approve it.
Seems like a temporary variance would be, like.
The problem with the variance is I don't know what you're giving a variance to.
The requirement that you can't build on a lot line.
Right.
Well, there is.
But I
no
know it's a weird,
requirement per se. You guys can,
Right,
I think you
it's-
can give permission to do it because they own all the property. But we would have to have a condition of some sort, so we have something to.
that's what it is. It'd be like a
It's a
temporary
condition.
second residence. It'd be a conditional use permit to put this on there, on their existing conditional use to have a mine. Or we add a condition to the conditional use that says that this building is temporary, can be built on the lot line. That would be the easiest thing. We do add a condition to a minor adjustment to the conditional use
I
permit.
think that could require process though, right? We'd have to look at that. And that might be the easiest way, but that probably involves public hearings at the planning and zoning commission level technically.
And opens up their whole issues.
And this is obviously something you want to get started on.
We would, yes,
And treatment facilities are very important.
they are. This one is a little bit interesting. It's a seasonal flow, so we're trying to get everything constructed by the seasonal flow next year, so we have the ability to treat by then, and so that's a little bit of a time constraint.
Well, I personally would not have a problem with this issuing a building permit, what to put in for language, so.
Again, so how long does it take to construct this? About a year?
Yeah, we're hoping that it gets constructed by summer of next year.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, if you're allowed to go forward with the building permit, then would you be open to the idea of coming back and going through the process of getting a variance or replatting it? Maybe replatting might be actually be better.
The replatting is gonna open up the whole CUP though, which is why I was trying not to replat.
I don't know why that would.
Because the CUP,
Legal
legal
description.
description changes,
Very
which means you're changing that's a major amendment.
No, we're not changing the boundary.
And then there would be the variance option too. I was trying to avoid sort of the public hearing aspect of it, not because it's opposed to that, but to make it more streamlined.
All right, gentlemen, it's in your arena. Comments, Commissioner Jennings?
I think that we see the value of the treatment building, and knowing that it's going to go away with the reclamation plan. It's just a matter of how to do it. Are we going to figure that out today, or should we continue this to next week when we've had a little more time to think about what the process should be?
Well, I think they would certainly like to see.
They would like to get it going as soon as possible. I'm not sure the 1 week is gonna be a correct time cover for them.
I guess I think.
We're just trying to figure out how to do it properly.
Right, I think you can issue a building, you can tell me to issue a building permit with the condition that the structure be removed at the time the reclamation occurs.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Right, I think that would work.
Yeah, I'm comfortable. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Aye, and it's only because I've got some mental reservation. It's not, I think it needs to be there. I just think that we're missing a step. But I'm comfortable enough with it that, I voted no, but yeah.
Yes, may or may not be helpful. Is this covered under your reclamation bond with the state as well?
It will be, yes.
So that way, that there's an assurance there that it gets done, or your bond doesn't get released, right?
Absolutely.
So that maybe helps everybody as well have a level of comfort.
Okay, well, we've approved your building.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We still have a couple minutes. We're gonna kind of coast here till 9:15. We've got another scheduled public hearing. No. I jumped the gun on public hearings here a couple of meetings ago, so we're not gonna do that.
It's not gonna happen again.
No, we could do the layout plan if Aiken's here. You are here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you wanted to, or we can do it after this one, because this next one probably won't take very long. Do another public hearing and then maybe do that one.
All right, we're gonna do the public hearing here. couple minutes. So we can just sit here and watch that squirrel attack his trying to start. He's made about 40 trips down that tree this morning.
Amber? I'm Jesse.
Oh, hi, Jesse.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
You've been very helpful. I have the, you want to add?
Notice, yeah, I can take those.
Notices.
Yep.
That's the first one that went out.
Okay.
That's the second one that went out.
Nice to meet you. We've had lots of emails, but.
Yes, we have.
Tell me when the exact time is here.
I just didn't want to look at you
9:14.
crossways.
You're not quite.
And my
Well, I wish
mom,
that clock would correlate with our equipment, because that's what I can see.
You get another atomic clock.
well, they don't work either. That one out there is atomic and it's like,
Motion to that effect.
it's 5 minutes slow.
So. I almost did.
Well, they were supposed to bring up the radio thing down at Fort Collins, I think. Wi-Fi one's.
Okay, Bob, it's time.
Now it's time.
Okay. It is 9:15. This is the time and place for a public hearing. CUP number 490, the owner applicant is Elfin Enterprises. Amber?
Okay, so this one, we started the process. We had a little snafu with some public notices, but we got them figured out now. So he just gave me the notices. We're good to go there. But this one is for I'm going to say a addition to an existing conditional use permit. So this CUP was done back in the 90s, I believe. Let me go back out here, sorry. 1999 was the existing CUP, and this is off of Legends Lane in Boulder Canyon. And at the time, they had a house and the rental across from them. And Jesse has purchased that land, and now he owns this place here and this lot right over here. There's a right of way that goes in between the lots. And with that, he would like to basically take the existing CUP and recreate the same thing over on this lot, which will look like this. Same similar structure, the one that's already there. It's one big structure, but two doors, cabins. Basically a duplex is what I would consider it as. And same location, like I said, it sits here. He'd like to do the same thing over here. It does fall within the realm of what we allow in the Park Forest District. Remember, we did add some multifamily uses in there, but we kept it as a conditional use permit because he would like to continue operating it like the other one. So it was a specialty resort is how the 1999 one was issued. So that's how he'd like to continue operating the new one. That's pretty much all I have.
Looks like planning and zoning eliminated condition 6 and amended something in 14.
Yeah, they, let me go back here.
While you're looking.
Yeah.
This is a public hearing, so at this time, we're gonna offer to the public for any comment for or against. I would again ask if you would please stand, state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against this at this time? Not seeing anything. Anyone online like to speak to it? All right, we will close the public hearing and offer it to the board.
Yep, so yeah, they did delete number 6, and then 14, we just changed it basically just so that it's kind of gone to the wayside a little bit because people don't have phones in buildings anymore. So we're just kind of trying to update that condition a little bit. Most people are going to have their cell phones with them or something, but they need to at least have the numbers posted, like how to get a hold of emergency numbers if they need to. Other than that, the conditions we kept, we pulled everything over that was in the original 99 set, except for some of those, updates that we need to make to them.
and planning and zoning did wholeheartedly approve it. Commissioner Flanagan.
My only question is what happens at such time as the CUP goes away and we have a duplex out there? Do we need to add a condition that says if it does, this needs to be converted into a single family dwelling?
That's your guys'
My motion
call.
would be to approve, add the condition that at such time as the CUP ceases to exist, that the house must be converted into a single family dwelling.
Keep in mind that district does allow multifamily. Just so you know, we added that.
In Park
Park Forest does. Mhm. So they could apply for a CUP probably for a multifamily at that time.
Or, okay, then,
If they
or
wanted
apply for.
to convert
there
it
we go.
into something
It'll
other
be
than.
converted or applied for the.
Okay.
There we go.
Does everyone understand the motion? And I'll second it for further discussion.
So if the CUP goes away, they just apply for the ability to, the CUP to put a duplex on that
Yeah,
property.
to bring it into compliance, maybe
Bring
would
it
be
into
a better way to
compliance,
say it,
yeah,
because
okay.
it depends on what, a lot could happen between now and 15 years from now, so.
Commissioner Jennings.
How would we enforce that? If the CUP went away and we were requiring them to apply for additional permitting to allow the type of a structure, is that enforceable?
I think I would add a time frame, and I think it would be because at that point it's not conforming with the ordinance, and so you would have to pursue an ordinance violation, which would be, fine and jail time ultimately, and a specific performance that would come into compliance.
I think one thing that's different, because this is already a CUP, is they have to notify you right away, like within, and if within 12 months they don't do anything, you can move forward because they already have the CUP.
Because of the review period.
Yep, because they have to
Okay.
notify you. If you wanted to, so when we have a temporary, mobile home, like on a secondary, you guys usually have a 6-month kind of time period, and then they can come to you and ask for an extension if like weather doesn't allow it or there's something going on. So we could utilize that language if you wanted to. And I don't know off the top of my head, but it'd be I think it's like 6 months from the date of notification.
Okay.
Something to that effect.
Okay, further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion for approval will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
Good to go.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll have to doctor that last condition a little bit. I'll look back at the temporary. There's a 6-month provision that we'll put in there, and then I'll send you the final copy.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Amber, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, you got one that you want to take up?
Yeah,
before
we
the next
can
one?
do the layout plan for Aikens. They're here. So this one is Lost Meadow subdivision, which is going toward Wyoming out on 85. So you're quite a ways out there. And this one, it was originally created in 2005. The fire plan was received on file. We did double check because there was some easements and stuff on the original plat that kind of showed what it was to be used for and all of that. Those are still in there, but what they would like to be able to do is replat and reduce the access easement to 10 feet along the side of the common lot line for a total of 20 feet. It would, instead of the full 66 that was in there. And from the looks of it, as long as there's an easement available, and that's what we had discussed, is we would not be comfortable with getting rid of the easement altogether, because the easement was basically to get the recreational vehicle access to the back, but they originally put it in as a 66-foot wide easement. And both lots, they would like to be able to, build in the locations. And so they would like to decrease that down to a 20-foot. But they don't want to get rid of it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Is this platted as a 66-foot public easement?
It's platted as it just says access easement. It doesn't say public, which is why we didn't make them do the vacation part, because it's not public.
It's just 66.
If it said public, then we have to, but it,
In my mind, by
it didn't say
it
that.
being 66 feet, it was intended to be public. It's, well, if it's public access to public lands, it's 66 feet by law, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know necessarily. I think we have to consider the Selway case and the considerations for what's required technically to dedicate something. It seems to me like that case says that it has to be without specific intent for public dedication. I'm going off my recollection that it's not, if that makes sense. And it's not a section line or anything like that, or any kind of deviation from a section line.
Yeah, on the original plat, it just said access easement, and when I went back and looked, it basically talked about making sure there was access for like snowmobiles and stuff to get onto the Forest Service
It's
ground,
public access to
which is
public,
what it did.
public lands.
I don't know. I don't think it has to remain as 66, from what I gathered.
Well, I'm not near as worried about if it has to remain that. I'm just more concerned about the proper way to take it off of the old plat and change it. Whether we need to go through that vacation process, because if it was intended to be dedicated public,
Well, they're not paying, it never got taken off the tax rolls. So the
you can
property line
dedicate an
goes to the
easement and
center.
not an actual platted roadway.
Okay.
Amber, do you know, if I may, Mr. Sherman, when that was done?
2005.
Maybe we have to go back and look at the minutes from back then.
It was, I did, and it basically just said as long as they wanted access for snowmobiles to get to it. The subdivision wanted access. There was no access there previously.
And it wasn't required by the planning and zoning to be 66 foot. They had it drawn that way.
Correct. It just showed as access.
I see you had some, you made some statements that they should contact the other landowners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's your pleasure. Would you like to speak, ma'am?
Thank you, Chairman and members of the county board. My name is Kirsten Polly. I'm one of the property owners. And just a little bit of background too.
What's your address, ma'am?
The address is,
Your address.
my address is 751 Carver Beach Road, Chanhassen, Minnesota.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. And just a little bit more background too, when we purchased the property, we were told that access for recreational vehicles would be established. And the developer indicated that what was actually platted was excessive and beyond. He did write a letter that was submitted to county staff as well. The intent of that is to provide access. It's everyone in the community's understanding that it's not a public access, but it's private for the benefit of the lots in the development as well. And he's in full support. We still have to go through the process of having the surveyors write the descriptions for the easement or the partial vacation, and then filing that with the recorder's office.
Maybe it's been stated and I missed it, I don't remember. So we're going from 66 foot something down to what?
20.
Down to 20. So it would still accommodate the same traffic that it would historically. The question then seems to me to be more of one of who has the right to do it. Is it open to the public or is it just for private internal subdivision use, right? Just
Correct.
to kind of clarify the issue.
Correct.
I don't know that it affects the question of public access by approving of that.
I'll just go back. So this is surrounded by Forest Service, so public access to public lands isn't an issue. My question is how was it dedicated on the plat? And without seeing the original plat in those notes, I don't know. Amber would suggest that she doesn't think it's.
It just said access. And so normally what we've done is if it says public access, then we make them go through the vacation process. If it just says access, we got
a lot more careful with stuff.
Yeah.
Right about that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we would just allow something to be accessed at that.
It's either public or
It's either public or private now, but
Mr. Chairman, if I may, again, I think the Subway case, if I remember correctly, would suggest probably absence of express dedication to the public. I think it would be considered to be private, I think, is how if I remember that case.
Motion to approve the layout plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the layout. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I'm gonna vote against. Again, just because I don't have clarification in my head. But, yeah, I don't see that there's just a problem at the end of the day.
yep, we should be ready.
9:30. This is again the time and place for a public hearing, conditional use permit 493, owner applicant Leroy Ecker. Amber?
There you go, sir. Okay. Okay. And this one is for a small family-owned sawmill up in Nevada Gulch. This one, it's been there for a while. This came about due to a old neighbor did a complaint, and we started the process, went out there, reviewed everything, talked to Eckhart's, and said it'd probably be in your best interest to go ahead and get a conditional use permit for the sawmill. Since then, the neighbor has, I think, since sold the land, right? So they aren't even there anymore. But we haven't had any complaints at all except for the one. I think there was some extenuating circumstances that doesn't really pertain to what we deal with there. But since we had already started the process, Eckert said, let's just go ahead and, we'll just go ahead and finish it. We haven't had any issues with truck traffic. We haven't had any issues with, neighboring complaints saying they don't like the noise or anything. They keep it pretty clean. It's up on the hillside. You really wouldn't even know it's there unless you go into the property, I would say. It does allow it as a conditional use permit within that district. This is one of those pieces that's like the front part's suburban residential, but the back part's park forest. So we took the park forest, honestly, because most of the work is up on the park forest side. And you can kind of see where this is the upper side. So they come by their own house to get up to it. That's where it's at. And yeah, that's probably it.
This is a public hearing. At this time, if there's anyone in the body of the audience or online that would like to speak for or against this, we would ask that you would stand, state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone that would like to speak at this time? One more time, anyone that would like to speak for or against this, online or in person? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and offer to the board.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. We'll get it updated and I'll just email you guys a final copy of everything. If that works, you'll get it.
So we can pull the sign out and bring it.
Yep, you can bring it back and we'll get the money refunded for it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe letters from the public?
It says that the agenda subjects change, and take items out of order.
And I don't,
Is there anything from commissioners to report?
Is that other gentleman here, Mike?
Oh, game and fish.
Kozlowski, unless he's out there. I haven't seen him.
I think we got some other folks that are coming to too for that.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
it's so hard with those public hearings because I never,
You never know.
it's like who's gonna show or who's not or.
We'll take care of items from the commissioners. Does anyone in the body of the commissioners have anything that they'd like to discuss or bring forward? I have none.
Well, that didn't take very long.
No, we got that out of the
Who's
way.
doing the radio report this week?
I thought you were. Or was, maybe, no, I think Commissioner Tisdale volunteered last time for this time, didn't you?
Fine.
Fine.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that railroad hurts.
Well, it'll be like the one I did last time. It'll probably be quite brief because of this. Short and sweet.
Mr. Chairman, could the minutes reflect that Commissioner Tisdale accepted it with great enthusiasm?
I think you should, yes.
It's probably poor planning. Let's see. It's that last one in September we don't want to be doing. That was the one that's.
That would be you. Yeah, Chairman Ewings, wouldn't it?
I think probably will be his turn again.
At this point in the game,
Recess now for a bit?
yeah, we're gonna recess for a little bit.
Okay, we'll need the recording for the time being.
Okay.
recess
Do you want
as
this stuff?
Board of Adjustment and reconvene as county commission. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Let the
carried.
PowerPoint up, okay?
This guy? How you doing? Good.
You want as an actual PowerPoint or do you want?
You got your whole tribe here?
I'm
missing a couple guys.
Yeah. I'm it for game fish and parks, but, we have a Forest Service here and Jerry here and however you guys want
We're
to.
crunched for time, we can get started.
Well, no, we're not crunched for time. We've just been kind of,
This is the last thing on the agenda.
yeah. We'll take phone number.
Oh, well, if that's the case, I'll start talking.
I do, yep. 605?
We'll, we'll take
880?
a 5-minute break.
11.
Let's
Someone
pass
wanna
it.
show up.
That around the thing, well.
I'm gonna mute it for now, folks, and we'll come back online in a bit.
You betcha.
Recuse myself.
Can do. Tell me what you want to do.
Due to the fact that I am also a member of the Spearfish Canyon Foundation and have Commissioner Flanagan conduct this hearing, I won't participate.
Are you gonna sit at the big table?
No, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We have Mike Klazowski from Game Fish and Parks. I think he's a regional wildlife supervisor here to give you a presentation, sort of an update, I think, on the status of the hydro plant 2 in the canyon. We also have members of the Spearfish Canyon Foundation here as well, and Steve Kozel's here from the Forest Service.
Yeah, hey.
And Mary Fitzgerald, Representative Fitzgerald is here as well.
Thanks for having me. I don't know, Jerry, if you wanted to kind of start off a little bit about the foundation or kind of how maybe some of this came to fruition, or.
Yeah, I put some notes together. Some of this you guys are going to know, but I'd like to kind of tell the story a little bit on how we got where we're at today. And I thank you for seeing this today. I'm here today representing the Spearfish Canyon Foundation that was founded in 1989 in partnership with Homestake Mining Company to continue land stewardship of the unique Spearfish Canyon. Our board consists of 9 active members strong 35 years later. Today we have a few board members with us, and I'm expecting Steve Hoff and Robert Morton and Bob Ewing, as he said, he's also on the board. Mike Kowalski with the Southwest Game and Fish, and Steve is here, as we've been mentioned already. I'd like to take a few minutes to go back in time to share some of the history of Homestake Spearfish Canyon and Spearfish Canyon Foundation. In September 11th of 2000, I was working in the shop in the 1,700-foot level of Homestake Mine. I received a phone call telling me to come to the surface to attend an urgent meeting at the mine office. When I arrived, several others were in attendance: Tom Nelson, Mayor Lee, Francis Siscon, the Mayor, Deadwood, and myself, the Mayor of Spearfish, and other representatives of the area. I knew this was not going to be a good day. It was announced that the Great Homestake Mine had operated for about 125 years, was closing its doors, and would do so by the year 2002. What a devastating shock to the Northern Hills. In 1992, Homestake did a land exchange with the United States Forest Service for a major portion of the canyon land and coordinated the sale of numerous cabin lots, making dedicated public access to most of the canyon. Homestake then retained several parcels, including the Savoy Intake, Spearfish Falls and Trail, Little Spearfish Intake, Rough Lock Falls, Hydro 2, Maurice Intake, and the Hydro number 1, also the property known as the mouth of Spearfish Canyon, that includes the Spearfish Rifle Range. The Spearfish Canyon Foundation worked diligently to assist in acquiring these properties through financial support to the state of South Dakota for a total of amount of range around $1 million, and the city of Spearfish purchased the complete Hydro number 1 facility, obtained a FERC permit, and currently operates that facility. Spearfish also acquired the land where the rifle range is located. We're here today to talk about one of the last pieces of Homestake mining history that has been sitting abandoned without upkeep since around 2001. Hydro 2 was built in 1917. It's owned by the South Dakota State Game Fish and Parks, where they acquired that land with these other parcels, and it's sitting on approximately 37 acres. It was acquired when the other 7 properties of Homestake were dispersed in the canyon. At one time, it was a beautiful jewel in Spearfish Canyon, but the facility has suffered damage from Mother Nature and needs loved again. The Spearfish Canyon Foundation is willing to work to make this happen. If the Spearfish Canyon Foundation was able to acquire this facility, we would commit to repair the structure to make it safe. We would open it to the public to visit as an historical interpretive center, and as well a visitor center, information center for the Northern Black Hills. It would be open seasonal from Memorial Day to Labor Day. The Spearfish Canyon Foundation asserts this is an important historical preservation project that would also benefit tourism economy in a responsible manner for the area. The foundation is in hopes of possibly through legislation in 2025, through another governmental entity, we can acquire the property from the state of South Dakota. We are here today to ask Lawrence County Commission to possibly be a partner to assist in acquiring the land and the hydro facility from the South Dakota State Game and Fish and Parks. The hydro is contiguous to the parking trailhead to the Devil's Bathtub. I won't go into details on that issue, but we are all aware that it's being loved to death by the public. In time, there should be another creek crossing and a new trail system to help mitigate damage to Cleopatra Creek that is a trout spawning creek. The foundation has been in discussions with other stakeholders interested in helping with those issues. The Spearfish Canyon Foundation would support, but those discussions are for another day. I thank you.
Yeah. And just want to recognize Jerry for all of his work on this. It's good things, but there's also challenges with everything, as you guys are probably pretty familiar with. There was and is today, there's still a federal nexus with the removal of the encumbrance. When we bought this property, it was bought partially with PR or Pittman Robertson dollars, which is an excise tax on guns and ammunition. And we purchased that property utilizing those funds. We recently, after about a 5 to 6 year, removal process for that, we actually took that encumbrance, those matching funds, and put it on the Hepler GPA. So we took that nexus, those funds, and tied them to another property that we own. What that does is it allows for us to do some additional management on that property. It allows for us to, if you want to sell it, you can sell it. If you wanted to do things that not necessarily benefit hunters and trappers, you can now do that. So it allows for some flexibility on what you do with that property. There is still a MOA with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that is primarily tied to SHPO and what the requirements and responsibilities that the state would have with those historical buildings out there and maintaining those, or ensuring that they don't get wrecked inadvertently or intentionally. The Hydro 2 building is in need of repair. It has leaks. It has some roof issues. There's also some window issues. With an old building like that built in 1917, and Jerry probably knows a heck of a lot more than I do, you know, there's a lot of challenges. They last a long time, but when they need some fixing, and not a lot of folks are doing some of those types of architectural improvements that happen in those areas, or those kinds of buildings. As Jerry said, love to death. Perfect way to describe it. So many people on those trails that it just gets to be challenging. It gets challenging with parking. It gets challenging with garbage removal, restroom facilities. And we're also looking at potentially moving that trail out of the current pathway. If you can maybe go back to that first slide with the map. So you can see this is the existing trail right here. What we're looking at, is there a different way, or conversations is there a different path to take that isn't through this property right over here? Is there a way that you can potentially cut that off and maybe shorten that up? But with that, you know, it takes money to build trails. It takes money to build bridges. It takes money to do things like that. With that, next slide. Right there. So the future of Hydro 2 property. Game Fish and Parks was approached by Spearfish Canyon Foundation to potentially take over the Hydro 2 historical building and the immediate surrounding area. Right now, Game Fish and Parks, you know, our priority is hunting access, habitat, and this right now just doesn't quite meet that priority. It's very important. It's something that the public thoroughly enjoys, but where we're at right now, the management of this facility, taking it to the next level is just, there's a lot of challenges and barriers with that. With that, we definitely are amenable to looking at options, as Jerry had mentioned, potentially taking over ownership, leasing that property. There's a lot of different options that we could look at to where another person could take that piece of property and bring it to the next level, bring it to maybe do some restoration where the public can really see how things used to work. Also with the Devil's Bathtub, that other property outside of the historical Hydro 2 property, high use by the public to hike up to the Devil's Bathtub, it really begs the question of, is there more that can be done in this situation that better marks trails? As I mentioned before, there's some conversation dating back years of, is there a different path that could potentially be created for that? So Game Fish Parks, we're definitely open to the idea of exploring other people managing, other people owning, looking at all the different options. And I think that's, you know, here today and visiting with Bruce, what maybe the desire is to look at other options for management, other options for partners, or potentially even owning that property. So with that, I'll I'll certainly take any questions that you guys have. I'm sure there's probably some out there. So.
Mr. Alpert. Question, Mike, so what is the status? You're trying to remove that federal encumbrance, is that fair?
Yes. So the federal encumbrance is removed.
It is removed.
Yep, we did get confirmation from that about 2 weeks. Like I mentioned, just an extensive amount of work to get that done. And then COVID happened in the middle of that thing, so it slowed everything down, rightfully so. And we did end up getting another updated appraisal of the property in 2021. But yes, it is removed. However, there is an MOA with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and there needs to be conversations with SHPO on what does that look like in terms of managing those historical sites.
Yeah, and what does that govern? What does the MOA cover?
Primarily those historic sites. So Hydro 2.
Yep.
And then across the road where I'd mentioned that those previous buildings were at.
Yep.
It also looks at that and kind of ensuring that, as I mentioned, there's no intentional damage or something along that lines. How can they kind of work together to ensure that historical feature stays there?
Before it could transfer, do you need to get permission from them? I mean, I assume before you do any updates or construction or anything on that building, you'd have to have permission from them to do anything.
Yeah, it's going to certainly
Or
be
have it released
a
or whatever.
collaborative effort to kind of how that would work. And I don't know if Jerry, if you've got any experience with that, that's where I've kind of fall a little bit short. I don't have a lot of experience. Game Fish Parks doesn't have a lot of experience with managing those historical buildings, and that might be something that maybe somebody else here or Jerry has.
That's one of the reasons that Deadwood History is also involved in this.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, Kevin is, yeah, he couldn't make the meeting today, but both him and Jim are both on the same page with us, and they would be our experts to help us get through that. We've done some research. Of course, we can't work on something we don't own or have some sort of agreement. Done some research on the tile roof, done some research on what it would take to fix some of the structures. But the building is to a point to where hopefully we get a good winter this winter, because I'd like to ride snowmobiles. But it is to a point to where a good snowstorm could possibly take the roof in. Yeah, it's not super bad. There's one beam that's cracked very bad. There's another one next to it that is pretty close. So we've been working on this project with the State Game and Fish for over 2 years, and we're just to a point now to where we really want to get something moving, or basically.
Well, it's gonna have to get done or we're gonna lose it.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
is such a neat.
It'd be devastating
historic
to have that front corner cave in. I'm not saying it'd happen, but it could happen.
Construction.
That building across the highway, I think I'm familiar with that. That's just a pole building, right? And could that ever possibly be used for parking? I think we talked about that years ago when we were talking about Devil's Bathroom. That may be a premature
I can
discussion.
address that, because I was actually chairman when the discussion that Sheriff Dean instigated it with. There was Forest Service, Game and Fish, the Highway Department, the state highway guys, and there was a lot of concern about crossing that highway there. But again, there's the same concern at Bridal Veil if you have enough other safety features. But that was a talk about putting parking on that side of the road to make it a little larger.
Probably premature, but I just bring that up as it might be helpful as a solution to some of the problem down there.
But that's some of the stuff that, I mean, the foundation is very much well aware of it. We're very much willing to be partners with others. And we do have quite a few people that I won't even mention because we don't know what the commitments are yet, that are willing to help with some of those features.
But it sounds like we're at the beginning of something that could happen, but is that fair? It sounds like Game and Fish has jumped some hurdles, enough hurdles that it can actually start to entertain some of these ideas, and the Spearfish Canyon Foundation is stepping up and saying that you would be interested in doing something to that effect. Is that, because I mean, this is the first, when I saw this come on the agenda, is the first time I heard anything about it, but it also sounds like it's relatively early in the thing, but we need to get kind of traction on it quickly if it's going to get done.
Originally, part of the thing is the way that it would have to be dispersed, that they would have to get it appraised, then it could go to public, and anybody could actually bid on it, and we kind of felt that probably wasn't the right thing to do with it. And so we've been having discussions with that, but we found, and even working through Bruce and working through some of our attorneys, possibly, I thought that it could be transferred from the State Game and Fish directly to another governmental entity. Now, that has not been successfully proven yet that it can be done. We feel that possibly, if the State Game and Fish are willing, to be done in a legislative session to where it could be maybe an agency bill from the State Game and Fish, if they would be agreeable to it, to transfer it to another governmental entity. That's what we would like to see, but maybe will not happen.
And then we see that we have the statute provided that shows that the county could, if the public property can be transferred from a governmental body to benevolent organizations, charitable, and those kind of things. So that statute's in place.
Subject to
for that
certain
part.
purposes and uses, there's a laundry list, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but there's another statute out there that says the state, if they're going to divest themselves of property, that they'd have to do it at public auction, essentially open for all to go ahead and bid on that process. We have been in discussion with leadership there in Pierre and quite a number of other folks as well. And looking at the idea of doing some sort of legislation that would potentially do that. It's going to take some sort of legislative action to do this, whether it's a transfer or how that all looks. But I think the important thing is to kind of cross our T's and dot our I's right now so that we can look at this and say, is this something that's even a possibility moving forward if there's an interest? And I think that's Bruce kind of described that.
Yeah.
Let's look at some ideas, or let's look at some potential outcomes here. But it would take a legislative action in order to do something with this property, to forego, just as Jerry described, that public auction piece to it.
It's ever since I was a little kid, I thought that'd be the coolest house to live in.
I've thought about a lot of things in there myself.
Floor open and fish right in the middle of it as you're in the middle of the day. And it'd be horrible to lose that kind of history to on the off chance that someone would buy it and try to develop it into something other than what it is.
I know some of you have been in there, but not to elaborate or make the conversation go longer. It's just like they turned the key yesterday in it. You walk in there, it's just like, and I think our vision would be, to run it and use some volunteer help and so forth. And that's some things we're gonna have to work on, but possibly have an interpretation screen like this that maybe would have some homestake thing and maybe have some sound of the power plant down and kind of tell the story. And it truly is the only structure that homestake owned, to my knowledge, other than ones that are really, the ones up not Little Spearfish, but up Hannah are still there. But this one is accessible to the public. And it's a jewel. It is. It's a gem. Just like the one in the Spearfish. I mean, it's a,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I don't think there's necessarily a question for you to act on today, but the idea was to present it to you and I guess determine if there was a consensus that you're willing to cooperate going forward with any sort of requests or further action that may come of this. And maybe that I'm authorized or whoever commissioners to attend meetings and bring back more information to you at a later point. Is that a fair summary of things?
I believe so, Bruce. Yeah.
I think this is important to try to keep it in the public.
I would agree.
And to make it open and accessible to the public, I think would be a great use and sort of an homage to the past and what went on up there with Homestake and some of the things that they've done up there. But yeah, I definitely in favor.
Does Mary or Steve have anything?
No, we're just here to listen.
We're here to listen and support both Game Fish and Parks and the Canyon Foundation. So as a willing partner and help sustain and restore that facility for the public.
Okay. Stand by for further requests or further information, I guess, right? Mike knows how to get a hold of me, and I know Jerry does.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You bet. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks
I
for
don't
coming.
have some of these maps here just in case somebody would want to get some additional ones to take with them.
We don't take
whatever
any
reason.
action to allow Bruce to do that?
I don't, do we need to? I think at this point, we're probably pretty early, but.
You won't be offended if I do, right? Yeah.
No.
No. Thank you, Mike, for coming, and thank you, everybody.
Yes.
I'd be more offended if you didn't.
For sure.
I'll turn the.
Bruce, can I write this off as a member visit because I want my shirt?
That's right.
Okay.
I saw that.
That's
very nice. You pass out some business cards.
Nice roof on the courthouse too, by the way.
All right, we are down to the last item on our agenda, which is items from the public. If there's there's anyone here from the public that would like to speak to the board at this time, either in person or online, this is your opportunity to do so. And if anyone wishes to, I would ask that you stand and state your name and address for the record.
I don't see anybody in the hallway, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone online that would like to address the board this morning?
Pardon me?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything, so that completes our business for the day, gentlemen.
Motion adjourned. So
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Stop the recording, folks.
Thank you all. See you next Tuesday.
Yep, we should be meeting
Yes,
next Tuesday for those online.